Hello and welcome. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me. We are live. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. This is the one place on the internet in the world where you can come pretty much every day, Monday through Friday, and ask questions about how to communicate more effectively. One on one communication, talking to people in meetings, job interviews, giving speeches, presentations, talking to the media, creating videos on YouTube or TikTok. This is the place for you. I'm going to be with you now for probably the next hour and a half. We typically go from 9 a.m. until noon Eastern time, 7 days a week. Thursday is a little bit different. We have several guests joining us already. Kalina is with us. Dave is with us. This is a community here. So it's a place not just for me to pontificate, but to share and be a part of a community of people trying to improve their communication skills. We have a lot of folks already who've joined us on TikTok. I apologize to our TikTok friends. You can't see what I'm talking about here because I'm on StreamYard and we're simultaneously on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and a handful of other places. But we have not yet figured out a way of doing this with TikTok. And I see Andrew says this is the best Joe Biden impersonation he's ever seen. Well, I do get that from time to time. And, I've been compared to worse. Joe Biden, he's not fat. He seems to be trim and fit. Yes, he has gray hair and not much hair. So I think that's perfectly fair comparison, although I am 20 years younger than he is, a little more than 20 years younger. But thanks for that. And it occurs to me, I have got my settings wrong. I've got to change my audio settings because I still have them coming out of an earphone. Okay, there we are. So, Kalina, I wanted to say hello to you, and Barb is with us as well. Kalina, tell us what you're up to and what your own communication journey is right now.
Hello. So what I'm working on right now is still trying to get better on making videos. Actually, I may put the camera on
Yes, please
because
do.
yes. Just sorry. Yeah. Um, I'm trying to like get over seeing myself on videos, which is what I think is my current issue right now because I'm communicating at work. I meet clients every day. My work is with a lot of clients, and I do small presentations of products and I sell them well. So I don't have problems with that. But specifically when I have to go on camera, this is when after I see myself, it's not
Oh,
really
Kalina,
what I
apologies.
expected. I always
We
see
had a
like
bandwidth.
issues
Hang
and
on one
yeah,
second, Kalina. Hang on one sec. We
yeah.
had a bandwidth issue.
Oh,
All of
okay.
a sudden, you froze and it went, which happens from time to time
Oh,
on the
okay.
internet.
Okay.
Now, let me give you a couple of
Okay.
quick tips.
Okay.
You'll come across better on camera if you don't have a window behind you because the
Yes.
light is
Yeah.
coming in and
Yeah.
it may be just shifting the angle a couple of feet so that no one can see it. I have windows right over here, but I cover them up because I want the brightest light in front of me on my face so people can see me. Now, I do have little accent
Yeah.
lights, which I now see have turned off. This is what happens when you're your own stage manager, and I forgot to check that during the break. So I'm actually going to turn on my accent lights. So so I do have light on behind me, but the brightest light is on my face. So, Kalina, I would ask that you do that. The other thing is, I would recommend you find some, if you're going to be speaking for business a lot, to buy a microphone. I mean, it can be an inexpensive microphone. It could be a $20 lav mic that just clips on your shirt or blouse or something. The second you're holding something, it causes distraction. It
Mhm.
brings attention to it. It also completely shuts down your body language with the one hand and the one arm that you're holding it with. So I would urge you try to keep your hands free so you can gesture in a natural way. And
Yeah, I usually do that, but right now I wasn't prepared to actually go on camera. I just thought to get spontaneously. Otherwise, I got lights and a microphone, and I use that when I do the videos.
oh, great,
Yeah,
great.
but it was my bad for the window right now because, yeah. Um,
Well, please post more videos. And the main thing
yes,
is
yes,
do it frequently, watch yourself. Now, some people speak
yeah,
a lot, but they never ever get better because they never record themselves and they never watch themselves.
yeah,
I'm sure all of you have seen probably local politicians in your community. They've been around, they've been in office for 30 years. They're not awful. They're just so so, but they're always the same. It's because they've never actually seen themselves give a presentation. They're comfortable because they speak at civic groups 5 times a week. So there's a comfort level, but they're still not really very good because they've plateaued. Because just speaking in and of itself doesn't get you better. You got to speak, you
yes.
got to video record it, you got to watch it and analyze what's working and what isn't working so you can get better and better. Kalina, is there any specific way we can help you more right now in your own communication skills journey?
I think I'm grateful for the way that you're already helping because I started your classes, TJ, on Udemy. I signed up for
Mhm.
several of your classes and they
Great.
all turned out to be from you. They turned out to be exactly what I need.
Great.
But I think maybe some voice techniques or something like this because uh, sometimes I speak very slowly and sometimes catch myself speaking very fast and I never can do kind of a medium
Well,
thing.
time
Yeah.
out a minute. Your goal
Okay.
should not be to speak at a consistent medium speed. You actually want to change, sometimes a little faster, sometimes slower, sometimes louder, sometimes softer. That's what makes a voice captivating. That's what makes a voice really interesting. Something we did,
Okay.
I can't remember if it was yesterday or 2 days ago, but I did an in depth, hour-long analysis of the number one most successful TED Talk of all time in terms of views on YouTube. And his voice was a roller coaster. I hope to have that edited and posted soon on YouTube and other social media for you to look at. But the whole key to your voice is variety. It's not about leveling it up to make it sound professional and consistent. Consistency is really another name for being monotone, and that's
Okay.
boring to people. You're
Okay.
consistent and monotone, and before you know it, everyone's reading their cell phone, ignoring you. So I like the fact that you're changing the speed of your voice. That's good.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Well, thanks so much for stopping by. Stay with us. Let's bring on our
Yeah.
friend Dave and see what he's up
Thank
to.
you.
Dave is a well-known author, expert, and professional speaker. One of our students, but an expert professional speaker in his own right. Dave, give us an update on your latest professional presentations you've been giving and what you've learned from any of them.
Well, thanks, TJ, for having me on here. I wasn't able to join you last week because I wound up doing an event where I spoke in front of 150 people in downtown Los
And
Angeles.
that's what we call an excused absence. That's great.
And I also did a book signing along with it, and it went really well. I can't say that enough. I kind of pinched myself afterwards because the next day they contacted me and they asked me if I would do the same talk and book signing up at their San Francisco offices and their
Great.
Newport Beach offices. So it really went over well, and I had a great time. I was very
Yeah.
relaxed, and I have to say thank you because of being able to hear you talk about speaking in front of groups and some of the advice you're giving
Mhm.
really helped me a lot. So I appreciate that, and I thank you for it.
That's fantastic. And that's the ultimate testimonial. Someone says, anyone can say after a speech, oh, great job, fantastic, wonderful. And they might not mean it. But if someone says, great job, fantastic, wonderful, we'd like to pay you more money to have you do the same thing to another group in another part of the country, then the praise is sincere. It's legitimate because they have absolutely no incentive to lie about something like that if they actually want you to the point where they're going to spend more money on you. So, and I'm not suggesting money's the only metric in speaking, but it's certainly one metric. So that's great that you're doing
It
that.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah, so
people are not going to spend money for a speaker a second time if they think the person did not deliver value the first time. That I'm very confident that's a universal axiom generally. So people can invest money on a speaker sometimes because it's a celebrity and everyone thinks they're famous and excited. Then the speaker come and they're awful. I've seen that many times, and they're disappointed. They might still say, "Oh, thanks for coming. It's nice to meet you." But if they're inviting you back right away, rebooking you again, that means you did a lot of things right. Now, did you ask them specifically, what did you like? Why did you want to invite me back? Did you ask them that?
I did ask a couple of people that, but I had a lot of people telling me what they liked. Because after I did the speaking, I sat at a table and I signed 150 books. And people that were coming up for a book were saying they loved this aspect or that aspect. So they were giving me sort of instant feedback for the talk, which was
Great.
very much appreciated.
And what were the 2 or 3 most common themes of the people of the value they got from your presentation that they mentioned at the book signing?
I would say the number one comment was they had no idea about the subject matter and the information I was giving them about it, and they were fascinated by it. So that really made me feel good because I produced a book of material that people were not familiar with, but incredibly fascinated by and really enjoyed learning about.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. And tell us, because everyone has seen a book signing in the movies and TV shows, and I've done book signing, and frankly, being Kent, I've done book signings where nobody showed up,
I've done
and
that too.
I've done some that were a little more successful.
Yeah.
But it's something in pop culture. People think, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to tour around and do all these TV shows and do book signings. Most authors never do, or if they do a book signing, nobody shows up. How did you get that many people to come? It was because it was the audience of the group that hired you to speak?
Yeah, and essentially, it was the company that brought me in. It was their employees. There was an incentive for them to show up because it didn't cost them anything, but they didn't have to stick around either. Oftentimes, you go to an event and you see people start to trickle out, or as I like to say, an Irish exit. They kind of fade out, and it's to me. It speaks volumes when the audience stays and is listening intently, is laughing in the right places, and also asks questions at the end.
And did the organizer buy for the copies of the book, or the people came up and
Yeah.
actually pulled out
Well,
their own
it was
credit cards?
actually the event was at one of the largest architectural firms in the world at their offices in Los Angeles, and it was sponsored by a number of their vendors, if you will. So they wound up buying, a certain number of books each, and they gave those out to the people at the event.
Okay, so the people can line up knowing, hey, I'm going to get an autographed copy and I don't have to pay and I can say hello to him.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's a great way of doing it too.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you continued success. I know we can't do the URL. Actually, if you post in the private chat the URL, Barbara or I can post that in the group comments that everyone can see. We're always happy to help promote other people's books, other people's content, other people's new ventures. So we're a little bit different than a lot of YouTube channels and Facebook groups where we actually want to encourage you to be self-promotional. So Dave, if you could post a link to the name of your book and the Amazon link to it where people can buy it, we can post that in the comments section since we're directors, on the inside, managers of this StreamYard account. So if you can do that now, we're happy to send more people your way.
Yeah, I'll get it up in the private chat, and I thank you for that. And I did just want to mention that my new book, which is really more of a motivational book, and one of the reasons why I took your course and am showing up to hear you speak about speaking, is that book is coming out in September, and it's up on Amazon now for pre-order, and there's also a link for signed copies. I'll put both links in if people want to pre-order a signed copy. And I appreciate you doing that. Thank you very much.
Great. Yeah, those pre-orders are very important these days. I mean, the book world is becoming more and more like the movie world, where you've got to have a huge promotional push that first weekend. If it doesn't do well, it almost never does well after that. It's a little bit different in that movies get pulled from the theaters and go right to streaming. Books But books also get pulled from bookstores. Many people don't realize if a book goes out to a Barnes and Noble, it may be there for 30 days and then it's shipped back, because the typical Barnes and Noble holds, I think, 40,000 books. Well, there are millions of books in the world. By some counts, if you count every self-published book, there's 1 million books a year published around the world. Only 40,000 of them get into a bookstore. So getting that initial rush going on, getting the push, getting people excited at the beginning is so incredibly important. Do you know, by the way, if your book on Amazon, do you have Amazon influencer video reviews? Because I've started doing more reviews of books in the Amazon influencer program, not because I think I'm going to get rich off of it, but frankly, in part to build relationships with other authors, publishing houses, PR firms, as I'm cultivating a list of people I want to have on as a guest for my podcast as we start doing long form video and audio podcast on this channel. Do you know offhand if any influencers have reviewed your book?
I have not had any influences review any of my past books that I'm aware of. I've had a lot of video interviews and podcast interviews over the years, and I put those links up on my website and places like
But
that.
is it on the Amazon page, though?
No, I haven't put them on the Amazon page, and I'm going to look into that.
Well, you know what? Let's do that. I'm going to go to Amazon right now. And shame on me for not doing this earlier. Tell me again the name of your Disney book.
Well, the most current one is The House of the Future.
House of the Future book, Bossert. I see it right here. And I see that. And is it in a Kindle version? Because I'm not, for about 5 years, I only read paperback books and hardback books. And then just in the last 6 months, I now pretty much only read books on my Kindle Paperwhite. Is it available on Kindle?
I have not put this book out on Kindle because it has a tremendous amount of photos and diagrams and, artwork and things like that in the book. So I haven't done a Kindle version of this. I do have Kindle versions of some of my other books.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what is your most popular book that you do have available in Kindle?
Oh gosh. It would probably be, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's probably, I'm trying to go to it. My computer, I've got the spinning wheel of death at the moment here. Hold on a second.
And while you're doing that, special hello to our good friends joining us on TikTok. And I apologize, you can't see the person I'm speaking to. If you want to see him or hear him with greater clarity, come on over to our YouTube channel. It's TJ Walker Success on YouTube. We simulcast on about 7 different platforms every day, Monday through Friday, typically 9 to noon. And we just can't do it yet on TikTok. There are a few more technical strings that have to be pulled. So I'm streaming to you live on my cell phone. So that's why it's a little bit different. It's also why I'm not looking at you most of the time. I'm looking at my main studio camera here. But I do want to say hello to Flavio, Margaret, Randy, Big Mac, Miguel. So many of you, it looks like hundreds have joined on TikTok. Even if it's for a few seconds, we really appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. Okay, Dave, what is that book?
So the Kindle version of the Claude Coates book, or my Kem Weber book. Those have Kindle versions.
And is either one of those about Disney, or what are those about?
Yeah, so the Claude Coates book is Claude Coates, Walt Disney's Imagineer, the making of Disneyland from Toad Hall to the Haunted Mansion and beyond. And then the Weber book is Kem Weber, Mid-Century Furniture Designs for the Disney Studios.
Uh-huh.
And they're both Kindle versions.
Okay. And
The-
is this
Yeah.
is one of the that's Leslie Works. I see.
Leslie Iwerks.
And I see yours, Claude Coates. Okay.
And
Now-
then Kem Weber. Kem Weber is a little bit less expensive as far as the Kindle version goes. On some of the art books, it's the price point's a little higher.
Okay. Yeah. Now tell us about that. That to me is fascinating, that you're able to charge that much more for your books. Tell us about your pricing strategy.
Well, essentially, I begrudgingly put some of my books on the Kindle platform because, or make ebooks of them, and partially is because the books I produce or have had published are art books. They're larger format. They're usually 9 by 12. And they're coffee table type books, and they're profusely illustrated with photos and artwork and concept art and drawings and things like that. So for me, it's really about, I'd rather people buy the hard version of it than the e-version.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And everyone has a strategy. There's no one right strategy. It's got to differ for each author, for each business model. So we appreciate you sharing that. I've got to shift gears now because we've had a number of people send in questions that they want me to answer. So I've got to go to student questions right now, but please stay in, and I may take you off screen for a minute, but we'll keep you on for right now. Let me go to
Thank you, TJ, for having me
questions
on.
from students, and thanks so much for stopping by. And again, for anyone who wants to come on camera and ask a question, share, give a pitch about your own TikTok account, your own book, your own presentation, test something out. This is an open forum. So you can come on. The best way to do it is by joining us on StreamYard. Easiest way to do that is just to hop on over to YouTube. You'll see the live stream, and then we typically post the link not only in the comments section, but also in the community tab right there on the YouTube channel. And again, on YouTube, it's TJ Walker Success. Okay, I'm going to shift now to your questions. Many people have written in questions in advance. Always appreciate those. Try to answer every single one, either the same day they send it in, or if it's a student who has specifically done it for our Thursday student sessions, we leave those for Thursday. So let me get to the questions. And some of you, okay. This is a question from Rania Mustafa, who says, how to make sure that all online participants are attentive. Okay, so that's a provocative question. I'm going to do a long form video on that, which means I'm going to try to give an answer that's about 8 minutes long, because that way it can be used and edited for YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and others as something longer than a 60-second video, because this is a very, very important question. I'm going to go ahead and hit record. I'm going to go to camera 1 for this. And those of you on TikTok don't know what I'm talking about because you're only seeing one camera, but we do things from 3 different camera angles here in our studio. So apologies for you missing that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go full screen for this one. Okay. And I'm going to set my timer. It's not the end of the world if I don't do 8 minutes, but it does make it a lot easier for certain algorithms to be triggered, ads to run, that sort of thing. So that's one of my own goals for how I'm trying to improve my speaking skills. So how do you make sure that every single person is attentive when they're watching you present in an online environment? Well, the simple answer is you can't. There's never going to be a way of getting absolutely every single person to give you attention, because it's like the real world. I've seen some of the greatest speakers in the world where 99.9% of the audience is on the edge of their seats. They want more. They're hanging on every word. And there's one person, maybe even on the front row, who is asleep. You could be a great speaker and not connect with everyone. Let's step back for a minute and have a little empathy. Other people have different things going on in their life. There could be someone in your online audience who didn't get any sleep last night. They may have had a crying baby keeping them up all night long. They may have a sick relative who's about to go to the hospital. They may be in a family where someone's about to deliver a baby. All sorts of things going on. Now, yes, I think that my speech is the most important thing at any given time, but other people can have important things going on in their life too. So don't beat yourself up. Don't think it's the end of the world if one person isn't giving you complete attention. But I also don't want to let you off the hook. Most of the time, when you're presenting online and people are not attentive, it's not because they delivered a baby last night. It's because you were boring. It's because I was boring. That's why people aren't giving us attention. They're thinking, well, I'll kind of halfway listen. TJ says something interesting, and then maybe I'll come back. Meanwhile, let me check my cell phone, my email, my text, the weather for this weekend. They're trying to multitask. Let me give you some techniques to minimize this. You can't guarantee to eliminate it, but you can minimize it. Step number one, when you are in an online meeting, gently, and I do mean gently, some people have health issues or other issues, ask people in a nice way if they can turn their camera on. I know some of you say, well, we don't do that in our company, or that would be rude. I'm not saying shame people into doing it or demanding or saying, I'm going to get you fired if you don't turn your camera on. But if you ask nicely and just say something like, hey, it'd be great to really be able to look people in the eye and see who's here, and I can see if it looks like you have a question. Would you mind just turning your camera on so I can see you? In my experience, most people will. That one act will increase the odds that people give you their attention, because it's human nature. If you think that your boss or someone presenting can't see you, it's just so easy to be straightening your desk, checking on your phone, going to another web page, checking out sports scores. It's human nature. But if you know the camera's on you and they can see you doing all this, you're much less likely to do it. So that's the first really big thing to do. The next thing I want you to do is to call on people, ask questions. Don't just say, does anyone have any questions? Say, Jim, does this relate to that project you were working on last week? Priyanka, does that at all solve the problem you had 2 weeks ago? Ask people highly specific questions and then listen to them. You, of course, want to ask people to type in questions if you've got a larger group and it's not just you and 3 colleagues. But you also want to share the stage. Now, so many technologies these days allow you with a push of a button to let anyone from anywhere in the world join the screen with you if you are doing an online presentation. Here's the one thing I can guarantee you. If someone in your audience comes on screen and is talking, you now have 100% of their attention. They are fully engaged because they're thinking, wow, the spotlight's on me, the camera's on me, everyone's hearing me. So they are profoundly engaged at that moment. The other thing is, other people out there will maybe think, well, I could go on or I could say something. That gets them engaged. I would urge you from time to time, ask a specific question of someone, not to embarrass them or humiliate them or try to put them on the spot, but ask them a genuine question that you think they would know the answer to, that would be interesting and relevant to the rest of the audience. Toss it out there. Don't just say, does anyone know the answer to? No, ask one person. Because here's the thing, at that moment, that person is going to get an adrenaline rush. They're going to think, uh-oh, I didn't know they were going to call on me. I better pay attention. And if they can't answer, don't try to make them feel bad. You can just say, well, we're going to let Sally have another minute to reflect on that and then go to another place. But now that person you called on is really going to pay attention. But here's the other thing. Everyone else on that online conference call, that online Zoom meeting is going to think, wow, they just called someone to answer a question who wasn't expecting it. If they can do it to that person, they can do it to me. I better pay attention. That will really increase the odds that people pay attention. Because you don't want them thinking, well, this is just like a video on demand and it's just going to come out. And whether I pay attention or not, it doesn't matter. This guy's just going to go on and on and on and on. No, it needs to seem more like a conversation, a dialogue, not a monologue. Now, the number one thing you can do, and this is going to be hard, you might not like this tip, the number one thing you can do to capture the attention, not of everyone, but most people in your online meeting is this: be interesting. That's right. Actually say stuff that is interesting. The big problem with online meetings is the same problem with real life meetings. If you stand up and you do a boring data dump, everyone's going to tune out. Now, if it's a face-to-face meeting and you're sitting down across three colleagues, they might be looking at you and appearing to be paying attention, but inside they may be thinking, oh, good God, TJ's so boring. Could he please finish so we can go to lunch? So it just doesn't matter whether it's online or in person if you are delivering boring information or delivering interesting information in a boring manner. The number one way to solve that is to rehearse in advance, to make sure you've limited your key points to a handful, that you have illustrated each point with concrete examples that your audience can relate to, preferably in the form of stories, recounting real experiences you've had with clients, customers, colleagues. That is the number one way to not make sure everyone pays attention in every meeting, but to increase the odds that most people really stay connected to you and give you their attention. Okay, so that one, I was just a few seconds short, I believe. I'm going to camera 3. I'll switch the TikTok. And I'm sorry for our TikTok friends who had to see my microphone, but there's no easy way of manipulating that otherwise. So that's what we're trying to do here. I'm trying to be responsive to you. That was a question from a real student. I tried to answer it in a detailed way. I'm being transparent with you because I'm showing you how I make videos. So I'm trying to deliver value to you, those of you who are live, and we have a lot of people all over the world from every continent, or at least 6 continents today, joining us. But I'm also creating content, rough draft footage for my editing team, who will take that and polish it and add some graphics and music and edits and B-roll so that can be put on social media channels and ideally have a long life. I mean, that's a topic that I can't imagine wouldn't be relevant for the next 20 years, if not longer. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm taking you sort of metaphorically and actually behind the scenes, behind the curtain. This is my studio here And those of you on TikTok can't see it, but I just sort of literally took people behind the curtains so they can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, we've had a few more folks pop into the comments. Let me read those. We have Ayesh has joined it. Is it good to talk with ourselves on a random topic in front of a mirror? Okay, let me ponder that for a moment. I see a number of other comments came in on the private chat as well. Oh, Dave has linked. I asked Dave to link to his book, and we're going to share that in the comments right now. I can do that as an administrator. Oh, it looks like someone has already done that. Sorry. So Barb or someone has done that. So thanks so much for doing that. I do appreciate that. Yeah, let's encourage our community members to support each other and help each other. So if you've got a particular product you're selling and you're willing to speak about it, by all means, it's fair game. What I don't want you to do is just post links to stuff you're selling and you're not willing to speak about it. Okay. All right. Back to Ayesha's question. Is it good to talk with ourselves on a random topic in front of a mirror? I mean, it's better than just watching TV or watching silly videos of entertainment, Ayesh. But I would, other than a Toastmasters meeting where they sort of grab table topics out and you talk, I'm not sure how useful that is, because I have found in most aspects of life, if you have to give any type of talk, presentation, speech, briefing, you know in advance. If you're going on a job interview, you know you're going to be presenting why this company should hire you. So I would personally rather you think of things that you're going to talk about or that you want to talk about. It could be a hobby. It could be a passion. And I'd rather you not practice in front of a mirror. I'd rather you practice in front of your cell phone. What's the difference? A cell phone, you can hit record. You can watch it. If you're looking at a mirror, it's too easy to get distracted. Is my nose crooked? Am I losing more hair? We all like to think we can multitask, and I'm doing a little multitasking here of sorts today, running my mixer board and deciding what camera is on and reading comments. But really, human beings are not good at multitasking. If you are practicing your presentation in front of a mirror, you're trying to figure out, what do I say? And you're trying to watch yourself at the same time thinking, well, how am I doing? Not a good idea. It's far more effective to just practice in front of a video camera and not think about all that. What do I look like now? How does this hand go? Just give your speech the best way you can, then watch it. When you're watching it, now you only have to do one thing. You just sit back and you're an analytical critic of yourself. That's where you learn the most, because there are certain things that are going to be apparent to you watching it that you're going to miss if you're practicing in the mirror. So that's why I really do not recommend talking in front of a mirror. If this were 40 years ago when I started and renting a video camera and a camera operator was time consuming and expensive, I'd be a little more open to it. But these days, we're all completely surrounded by television studios for free because you've got a cell phone. And that's why I recommend don't use. I mean, a mirror is a technology, and I don't know when it was first invented, but it is useful. I mean, I look in a mirror in the morning when I shave to make sure I didn't miss anything. But a video camera that records footage and audio is also technology. It's actually a much more effective technology than a mirror. Okay, Vaya says hello. And also says, great suit today. Well, thanks a lot. I do appreciate it. And for those of you joining us for the first time, what you may notice is if you do this long enough or an audience builds, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the ugliest person in the world, which I hope I'm not, whether you're the most beautiful person in the world, which I know I'm not, people are going to comment. And in the case of Matt, of just being nice and polite and positive, but you are going to get comments from people I got one the other day saying, TJ, why are you wearing a pinstripe suit? Those went out of fashion 10 years ago. One of you earlier today made a comment saying I looked like a well-known American politician who's over 80 years old. I don't think they meant it as a compliment, but you can't worry about that. You can't be bothered by that. Instead, focus on what you do. Focus on either the expertise you have that you can share with people, or focus on entertaining them, one or the other. I'm sure Judy Scheinlin, a very famous TV personality in America, has people writing saying, you're so old, get off the air. Does she listen to them? No. She's 85 years old or so, and she's got a show on Amazon now, and she's still making 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars a year. She doesn't let people bother her who say you're old or wrinkled or short or whatever. She just does her thing. Works out very well for her. So, Madhav, thank you so much. Madhav says, Jules says, hello, thanks for teaching. Well, Jules, thanks for stopping by. Let us know where you're from. It's always nice to hear. We often have people from the United States, South America, a lot of people from India, Pakistan. It's always nice to know what country people are from. And Madhav also says, your everyday outfits are great. Well, thanks a lot. These outfits have not gotten a lot of use during the pandemic and the last handful of years, but I had an image consultant I hired many years ago, said, TJ, you're charging X for a day of training. You can't be wearing a suit that seems like it cost 5% of what you're charging people for the day. So at that point, I did shift over and got all my suits custom made by Savile Row tailors. I've done that ever since. Now, I haven't had to make any suits in the last 15 years because I got a whole bunch made. They're tailor made to me. I occasionally have alterations, but that is one of the beauties of having a nicely crafted handmade suit is they will last a long time if you take care of them. So, Madhav, thanks for pointing that out. Jasmine is with us, and Jasmine, really appreciate you stopping by. You're one of our regulars. You're an enthusiastic participant. You're nice enough to comment on my videos as they're posted on LinkedIn and also here on YouTube. And I understand you're involved in an artificial intelligence startup that helps content creators like me distribute our content more using the power of artificial intelligence. I'd love to find out more about it. You sent me some information, but if you want to come on live today, I'm more than happy to hear from you and any of your colleagues talk about that. Meanwhile, I've got to go to more questions that many of you sent in, but feel free to join the StreamYard link, Jasmine, if you would like to. And one other comment from Madhav about suits. I love to wear a suit, but I don't get the opportunity to wear them just because I'm a student, so I don't have to wear it without doing so. And that's okay. But you may decide, if you're going on a job interview, that a suit might be appropriate. If you're going for a job interview in a technology field, don't wear a suit. It's going to look suspicious. Next week, I'm going to be training a CEO of a technology company. I'm going to make sure that I don't wear a suit. When I got up this morning and came to my office and walked through the streets of South Florida, I wasn't wearing a suit. I was wearing shorts, Crocs, a linen shirt. I put this on right before we go live, and I take it off when I'm finished because I want you to have a sense that I'm a professional and there's some authority here. Is it the right thing to wear? I don't know, but I noticed that the videos that you seem to like and watch more and share more are ones when I'm wearing a suit. So that is why I'm doing it. Okay, we got to go to more questions. I do apologize to anyone who has sent a question in and not had it answered. So I'm scrolling. These are questions that were emailed in advance. And this question comes from Anita. I need some help finalizing all the requirements for my first of many videos. So Anita, if you're talking about the requirements that I ask people to do in my Udemy courses for public speaking, presentation skills, communication skills, storytelling skills. I may have said, please try to have all these 7 storytelling elements in your video. For right now, if you haven't posted a video yet, I want you to forget all that. I just want you to speak, record yourself on video, watch it, figure out, do you like how you come across? Do you find it interesting? Keep doing it again and again until you can say yes to both of those things. Do you like how you're coming across? Do you sound interesting? When that happens, go ahead and post the video into the Udemy Facebook community page or community group. That's really all that's important. Don't worry about all the other little requirements. Those of you joining us on TikTok, you may never have heard of me before. That's okay. I'm TJ Walker. I have about 2 million students in my online courses, primarily on the Udemy platform, but I'm on Coursera, Skillshare, and about 100 other platforms. So if you're looking for more in-depth skill building with any aspect of your communications, you may want to try Udemy, Coursera, Skillshare. You can always go to my own website, mediatrainingworldwide.com. You can find more information about that in the About section on TikTok, but also on YouTube. We are using StreamYard today and simulcasting on about 8 different platforms. TikTok is the one that's a little bit special. I have to do that just for you on my cell phone. But if you want to see what everyone else sees, come on over to the YouTube channel. It's TJ Walker Success on YouTube. And if you do post, you can feel free to post a question here, but I might miss it. I will not miss your question if you post it on our YouTube channel. So let's go to the next question. And a lot of you are writing in simply confirming that you're going to show up to our live events, and I appreciate that. And ask you, do you have any questions? And a lot of you simply post no. That's okay. But that's what I'm scrolling through here now, is ones that have said they're coming to our live session, but also say no, they don't have questions. And that's perfectly fine. Sometimes people like to just come and see what's new. So here's a question that has come from Akanish Kasana. Sometimes there are points that we can't directly tell the audience to think on, but we want that indirectly they should focus on that part. I want that they should understand it on their own. So how should I present it to them? I think the most effective way to do that is really, there's 2 techniques that work together. You need to tell a story that makes the point come alive, but isn't hitting people over the head. It needs to be a story your audience can relate to, not a generic motivational speech. But if you're talking to a bunch of consumer or customer reps who have to deal with angry customers, and you're trying to motivate them to stay up and show more compassion and not get frustrated, then perhaps you tell a story about an actual call you had with a customer where they got angry, and maybe you got angry, and how it was all resolved and what you learned from that, so that they can reflect on that and think about, that's similar to what happened to me last week. Maybe I didn't handle it the best way. And to put in pauses. When you put in pauses, you allow your audience to think, to reflect on what you're doing, to see themselves in the same condition. So that's something I would like you to try to do. Thanks for asking that question. Let's go to the next question. And I really should have recorded that, because that's an important question, and recorded it in 4K so that my team can turn it into edited content for recorded, edited videos and social media. So this question comes from Sam. Sam says, I'd like to know how to remember the content during an important speech or interview. I have prepared written notes and revised them many times. When I go into a meeting or an interview, I tend to forget the sentences or points that I have prepared. how to ensure that I can remember most of the points, phrases, quotes, buzzwords during an interview without sounding scripted or robotic. Profoundly important question. Let me get a prop that I think will help demonstrate the solution to this. Excuse me, I have to just step off camera. I'm still at my desk. I've not abandoned you, but I just wanted to grab an outline that I use for this very reason. And lo and behold, oh, here it is, right here. Okay. So, couple of points. Let me go ahead and record this. I'm not sure we'll use it. Okay. So what do you do if you want to remember the words, the phrasing, the exact buzzwords, the examples, but you're afraid you'll forget it in a speech, a presentation, or an interview, or a media interview? Well, for starters, don't put that much pressure on yourself. You're not a Broadway star skilled in memorizing words and then making it sound completely natural. If you try to memorize stuff, one of two things will happen. Number one, you'll go through half the sentence and then you'll forget, and it will be like going over a speed bump and everything gets all rattled. That's not good. Your eyes will look up and you'll sort of be out of the moment, and it'll be obvious to your audience or your interviewer that you're just trying to deliver something canned. So that's one big problem right there. The other problem is you're just going to forget completely and not even be able to come back to it. And it puts everything down. It shuts everything down. So I do not recommend that you try to memorize things. It ultimately doesn't matter that you get the phrasing just right for a speech, a presentation, a talk, or an interview. What matters is that you have an idea in your head. It comes out of your mouth in words, preferably the simplest words possible, so that your audience understands you and remembers you. That's what's important. So take the pressure off. You shouldn't have to memorize things. The biggest problem most people have is they get too greedy. They want to have note after note after note after note, lots of facts, lots of numbers, lots of pages, and there's no way you can remember that. Well, if you can't remember it, and you study this and you're the expert, how in the world do you expect anyone in your audience to actually remember it after hearing you one time? So think about that. You can't really have a memory that's 1,000 times worse than everyone in your audience. I don't believe you believe that. So if you can't remember it after you've thought about it, reflected on it, even practiced, there's no way anyone in your audience can remember it if they're just hearing it once. So what solves the problem for most people has nothing to do with once you're giving the presentation. It has nothing to do with getting an earpiece or putting a teleprompter everywhere. It all deals with judgment. Before you start to present, you need to use more judgment and eliminate the vast majority of numbers, facts, bullet points you're trying to convey, even when you're speaking for an hour. Focus, narrow things down to just a handful of points. Literally, how many are there? Is that 100 points? No, that's 5. Focus on a handful of points. Then think of an example for each one. Think of a story for each one. And you're saying, well, TJ, fine, but how am I going to remember the order? Well, here's where I can help you. I want you to use notes, but specific notes, not the notes you typically use, which is probably small print and 5-10 pages. I want you to put it on a single sheet of paper. I want you to use large font, and I want you to try to limit it to maybe 3 or 4 words per line so that you can just occasionally glance down and look at it. Now, you can do this even in a job interview, and most of the time no one will notice. And if they do notice, they won't care, because you're looking at them most of the time. You're conversational. You can have confidence because you don't have to worry about, oh, what if I forget? Well, if you forget something, just glance down. Recently, I had to give a 1-hour speech. These were my notes. This is what I use for a 1-hour speech. It's one single sheet of paper. It's bold. It's just a few words. It's not a full sentence. It's not a full paragraph. There's not different indentations and all that stuff. It's simple. It's clear. I can glance down. I see a point. I know I'm going to talk about it for a couple of minutes. When I'm finished, I can sweep down with my eyes, or I can put my water down. In the act of doing it, I can look at my notes. No one notices. This is a technique I've used around the globe when giving keynote speeches. I have a horrible memory. I never speak without notes, yet nobody ever knows I use notes unless I do like I did with you and actually hold them up to show it and demonstrate it. So you don't have to memorize things. You also don't have to get it word for word the right way. Which is more important is that you can just present in an engaging way and show your passion and your emotion. That's what will make it interesting and engaging. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording there and put that in. Jasmine Lee has joined us. Jasmine, how are you today?
Hi, CJ.
Hi, thanks for
How's it
stopping
going?
by. And
Thank you so much for having me.
sure. Tell us about your new venture, and very much appreciate your active participation in our community across various social media channels. And I know that you are also involved with a company that helps content creators. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So first of all, thank you so much for your tips and techniques that I applied so many of them to my work life and got great results. And so I'm very grateful for that. And yes, I'm a researcher at elevisa.ai, learning about educational content creators. And so, yeah, after working in this field for a while, we realized that most content creators struggle with audience growth and monetization, because their content does not reach the right people with, so much noise online. So we basically designed a tool, an AI tool, that turned long-term content to bite-sized, shareable pieces. Um, it's basically, providing a unique link for every piece of content you have, summarizing it into bite-sized, shareable pieces, and then your audience and your community of subscribers can then start sharing them, which will drive you more audience and revenue, and receiving educational courses and rewards in turn. So, how do you think that sounds?
Yeah, I'll be totally candid with you. It sounds fantastic. That's the good news. It sounds like what I read and hear in about 100 emails I get a day from people. So I'm always a little bit
Sure.
skeptical because I'm hearing it from so many places now, and I get pitched from people, and I'm always open-minded. Because I know I can do it better. I'd like to do better. I have experimented using artificial intelligence to cut a 20-minute video of mine into short forms, and was pleasantly surprised at least one of those times where I thought, oh, I created 20 short form videos and 8 of them weren't bad. But I still felt like it wasn't as good as what I can do when I'm just consciously deciding I'm going to talk about this one subject and do it in less than 30 seconds. I certainly understand the value of it with, people doing they're working with their CEO. Their CEO gives a keynote speech, and they're not a full-time, media guy doing stuff. And they wouldn't, very difficult for most people if you say, now talk for 30 seconds to just do it. It is something I have, and my experience has been that when I'm specifically doing one and I know I'm trying to do it in that amount of time, I can get a higher quality. But I'm certainly open to better ways of doing it. It would save me a lot of time. And everyone wants more audience and everyone wants more monetization. Tell us more about your system. And if you'd like to share the screen and show us some of the people you've worked with and helped. I had some one company, I guess a competitor of yours, who claimed to have worked with Alex Hormozy, who claims to have built his whole channel of 3-4 million subscribers off of the back of short form content that grew and grew and grew. So I definitely know that some people are doing it and doing it successfully. The fact that I haven't mastered it yet doesn't necessarily mean anything. So do you have anything you would like to share with our audience today on that?
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I agree with every point you made. The difference here is that it's your audience that, share the content. It's still you doing the 30-second video, but it's your audience who would share the content. So, that's the difference. And you can, in turn, offer them, rewards in turn, whether it be,
Oh,
I don't
so
know,
tell us
free course
about the
or whatever.
rewards program, because I certainly, in my long form video, I always ask people to share. And as you know, I post short form video on LinkedIn, where you've been nice enough to comment and share, YouTube, and all the usual places. But most people don't ever share. And what specifically are you doing? What incentive mechanism are you giving to people to share content of creators they follow?
I think the reward system is going to be up to you. To it can be, I don't know, maybe a free one-on-one session, or I don't know, but it's designed to it's up to you. Like 50 minutes on one session, social media shout outs, and a free course, and whatever.
And administrative, I mean, I definitely like the idea and see the value of partnering with your fans and community and friends and people who follow your stuff. Administratively, I mean, I don't know how I would do a free 30-minute coaching program with every single person who wanted to share one video. It seems like it would sort of overwhelm the schedule, and just scheduling it itself would be extraordinarily difficult. Can you give us an example or show us one of your clients who you think has done a great job of this?
The product is in the final stages of development, and so it's I haven't launched yet.
Okay,
It'll be
fair
in
enough.
2 or 3 months. Yeah. So it definitely helps get insights and reviews from creators like you that'll help us greatly in designing a product that would be helpful, would be useful for all kinds of content creators.
And then how does your product give people guidance on frequency of posting? I mean, with artificial intelligence, if someone did a 10-minute video a day, in theory, you could turn that into 30 short form videos. There is a school of thought that says that, that would be so much, it would be a fire hose, you'd turn people off. What's the magic number of good short form videos you should post per day? I mean, I've sort of just come across through happenstance the idea, well, I'm going to do 2 short forms a day and 1 long a day. Gary Vaynerchuk says basically you can't do too many. You should do 150 pieces a day. Others say, 1 long video a week and maybe 1 or 2 shorts. That's it. Are you giving guidance? Is your AI program giving guidance for people of how often they should create and post, and what the differences should be on different platforms? Certainly it's conventional wisdom that on Twitter, you can post a lot more per day than TikTok.
And TikTok, yeah, exactly. So I think the numbers depend on the platform you use, just as you mentioned. But I think consistency is key. Is like picking out a niche and post videos, short form videos, like pretty much every day. And then the algorithms can give boost to your content.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, certainly interested in any new technologies, and I don't want to miss them. I mean, my biggest fear, probably a lot of content creators, is I've got 4 competitors who have been in the industry only a few years, and I've got all this experience, but they leapfrogged over me because they were just faster to grab onto technology, use it, Now they're talking to 10 million people a day, and I'm getting, 1/1000th of that. Because I mean, I've been on both sides of that. There's certain technology things, trends. Twitter came out. I thought, what a waste of time. Why would anyone want to do that? I wasn't even though I got on YouTube, I wasn't that excited about it. I had a lot more fun going, getting in the limo and going to CNN, which they were nice enough to come get me, and other TV networks. So I was slow on that. I was very early, if I don't seem like I'm being too boastful, with the online video on demand courses. I started doing that audio and video in 1998. Turns out it was way too early. I lost money for about 15 years in creating online courses. It was just too early. And then because I was in early and I had so many courses, I was able to really go far ahead of almost all of my competitors in that space because I had just built up such a large library of courses. So I've been on both ends of the technology, being on the right side and the wrong side of it. So how do people work with you? When are you planning on rolling this out? And can we possibly do a test with my online community and my content? Nope, I think your microphone is off. I don't know if that was intentional or if we lost you, Jasmine.
No. Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that we'd love to, keep you on the loop and have you as one of the first ones to try it out once it's ready. Your feedbacks will be immensely invaluable to us.
Okay. Well, let me know when it's available, and we can certainly share it with the community here because we have a lot of people here in my community
Yeah.
who are creating content. I mean, they may come initially to me for a course learning how to speak in front of the camera because they actually want to speak and make videos for YouTube or TikTok or be an Amazon influencer, which is something I'll be talking about in a few minutes, where I'll actually be making Amazon influencer videos, not just talking about it, but demonstrating soup to nuts, making a video all the way to posting it on Amazon. So for people who are all interested in kind of an easy entryway into the world of an influencer, that'll be coming up probably in the next 15 minutes or so. Well, Jasmine, thanks so much for stopping by. We very much appreciate your time. And
Thank you so much for having
we
me.
look forward to hearing updates about your company and would love to somehow figure out a partnership and be a part of your beta test.
Thank you so much, TJ. Thanks for having me. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Thanks, you too.
Thanks.
Okay, we got to switch to more questions. And I apologize to those who have written in questions and if I've ever missed some, because I know I occasionally have. Okay, here's a question from Nagendra, who says, often I receive feedback that the energy level could be better. What can be done to improve the energy level during a presentation? This is an extraordinarily common problem that does have, frankly, an easy answer. I'm going to do a video on this. I'm going to try to do a short form on this one. And also want to give a special hello to our friends on TikTok. If you want to join me in our main room and see the full studio and different camera angles, come on over to YouTube. It's TJ Walker Success on YouTube. Now, this is a place where I sort of show all the warts. Now, I'm not going to take my shirt off, don't worry, but I show you what goes on behind the scenes. Most content creators, you don't get to see any of the messy stuff. You don't get to see the mistakes. I'm noticing something right now where I'm getting shiny. Now, in a typical broadcast, a news broadcast, they've got commercial breaks and a makeup person runs out. We're not doing that here. So I'm my own makeup expert here of sorts because I'm the only one here. So I take a mosaic powder, just so you can see I'm getting shiny here. You see a shine. What I'm trying to do here is not make myself look like I have a beautiful golden tan. I'm not trying to dramatically change my looks. I just want to reduce shine to look more professional and less distracting. So what I've done is I've swirled the powder around, hit off the extra, And now I'm just sort of lightly brushing it on because I want to reduce the shine. No, I don't wear makeup when I'm just out town and, with family and friends going to dinner. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm doing this just for being on camera so as to not be shiny and distracting to you and to look more professional, because a lot of people you see on social media are wearing makeup. Everybody you see in traditional media is wearing makeup. So that's why I'm doing it. So again, you can see it's not a dramatic change, but I think you can see now that I'm close, it still looks a little shiny on TikTok for some reason. But on my regular camera, it looks much, much less shiny. Okay. Madhav says, I'm learning about KNN and Decision Tree and all Pandas library. Please share some resources to learn AI. I'm learning from college, free code camp. So Madhav and Jasmine are communicating. That's great. So sometimes you may be a part of our comment channel and these live feeds and be talking to each other and cross-pollinating. That is exactly what we want. Okay, I'm going to switch gears and go to that question on energy level, because that is a very, very big problem. I'm going to go to camera 2 for those in our studio, and excuse me, TikTok folks, who will not be able to see this as clearly. Moving the bottles out of the scene. What do you do if you get feedback from someone saying your energy level is too low when you give presentations? Well, it's too low because you're nervous. When you're nervous, you tense up. And when that happens, everything gets low. Your voice becomes monotone and it's softer. The thing to do is you've got to practice on video so you can actually see how you're coming across. And you need to do a couple of practices where you're imagining being in a loud restaurant and you're with 5 of your best friends. Use that level of energy, that level of volume, and you'll be in good shape. Okay, so that's one where I could do a long one. I have addressed that issue before, but I think in the interest of time today, I probably won't. Okay, but thank you, Negrenda, for posting that question. Okay. What is the most important thing to remember when facilitating a small or big group? Question 1, does it matter if you're not an expert in a subject matter one is presenting when facilitating? Now, I don't get a lot of questions about facilitation, although I do have a course on my website and on Udemy on how to be a facilitator. So I'm very happy to hear this question, because I don't get asked about it a lot. And facilitation is a type of communication. It's a particular type of communication skill. And it's a particular type of presentation when you're doing it. So again, the question is, what is the most important thing to remember when facilitating a small or big group? Let me break it down one at a time. And we'll go ahead and record this too. What's the most important thing to remember when you're facilitating a small or large group? Well, here it is. It's not about you. Avoid the temptation to try to show everybody how smart you are by asking long questions that show your detailed, intimate knowledge on the subject. If you want to be a good facilitator, you've got to realize it's not about you. It's how you can bring out interesting insights from other people in the room, whether it's other experts, panelists, or the group of people right there. Your job is to probe, get people talking. Sometimes it is to synthesize. Sometimes it's to show common ground. But you are there as a sheep herder. You want to get everyone from here over here where there's more understanding, more insights, and more ideas. That's really your fundamental job as a facilitator. Okay. When I started that, I didn't have a clear-cut sense of whether I'm going to do that as a long video meaning around 8 minutes, or short form meaning less than 60 seconds. So sometimes I'll just do that, and I want to just say what I want to say, and the length is the length. I don't know if I did that. It clearly wasn't a long video. I don't know if I did that short enough to be a short, but we'll see what my editing team comes up with. Let's go to the next question. Oh, part 2 of that question. Does it matter if you're not an expert in the subject matter one is presenting on when facilitating? Yeah, let's talk about that. Can you be a great facilitator if you're facilitating on a subject where you're not an expert? The answer is yes. Bring your curiosity. You need to know something about the topic, but as the facilitator, you're not the one giving a big speech. You're not the one to lecture. They didn't come to see you. What you have to do is ask focused, intelligent questions, and then step back. Close your mouth. Let other people in the room speak, whether it's other panelists, other experts, or members of the group. Your job is to bring it out of them. You don't have to provide the expertise, but you want to create an environment where other people's expertise, opinions, insights, feelings are allowed to flourish. Okay, so, and it may look a little odd and contrived the way I do that. I understand. I'm pausing before I start. I'm pausing when I finish because I'm making it easier for my editing team to take that, know where to begin and end, and to put it together into a final product that can be posted on social media. Okay, let's go to the next question. This is a question that comes from Morel. How to gather knowledge quickly for impromptu speeches. Well, if you're giving a speech about your own business, if your boss says, hey, give us a quick summary of everything your team has worked on in the last 2 weeks, then you need to look through your own emails, look through your workflow, talk to a couple of colleagues quickly. If it's just something like a Toastmasters table talk, you can look at Wikipedia quickly. I mean, we live in a world where knowledge and facts and information are everywhere for free because it's all online. You can look at it on your watch if you have to. What makes someone a good speaker is judgment, figuring out of all this information, what's really most important. What do people need to know now? What do they need to act on? That's what is going to make you a compelling speaker. So I urge you, don't get stuck in the trap of simply acquiring more information, gathering more information, because I see a lot of people do that all the time. They're like, well, I'm going to start building my slide deck, or I'm going to rehearse once I finish. And they spend 3 months gathering facts, research for their presentation, and no time actually rehearsing it. And very little time winnowing down to the most important messages. So that's what I really want you to spend time on, because people don't need you to gather facts quite often. They need you to give meaning to facts that are already out there and to let them know what should they do with the facts that have come up. Okay, looking at more questions. This is from Pamela. How do you make public speaking so seamless? So I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Maybe you mean just speaking smooth. Let me take a stab at that. How do you get to the point where you speak and everyone thinks, wow, this person's really smooth, it's seamless, this person's really comfortable? Well, the trick is just do it more frequently. It's human nature. Anything you do regularly, it gets easier. You're more confident when you do it. You don't even have to think about it. The first time you drive a car when you're 16 years old, you're probably a nervous wreck. You're thinking all these checklists, hands on 10 and 2, check the seatbelt, check rear view mirror. Well, if you've driven every day for 10 years, you just hop in the car and you go. You're not even aware of doing those things. It is exactly the same way with speaking. Okay. All right. So I hope that was helpful, Pamela. More questions. It is interesting that my colleague Barb has left. We were talking just yesterday about how some audience has gone down and engagement has gone down on Facebook with our own student community. And yet, for some reason, in the last 24 hours, maybe even since that conversation, we've had so many great questions flooding in, people asking me to address during these live sessions. So I don't really know what's caused that. And many people simply writing in to say they'll be joining us. I'm looking now at other questions that have come in and scrolling through these. You're hearing these questions the same time I am. So I'm trying to give you sort of a live, spontaneous look at these. And then sometimes they are edited down into recorded videos as well for future use in social media. But it is nice that so many people took the time to RSVP for our live session that we had earlier today for our Udemy students. We didn't get to answer all of these in that session. Okay. Felicia writes, how do you organize this free live Q&A session? Great opportunity for us to know, like, and trust you. I want to do the same for my business. So, Felicia, I mean, these days, pretty much every social media platform allows you to go live, and then you let people know through email, social media. So I'm live on TikTok today. I didn't let anyone know. I just hit a button that said live, and TikTok sends out a message to, if not all of your followers, some of them, because I see we've had hundreds of people on today. They're not hundreds on right now, but we've had hundreds of people come by just from TikTok. YouTube has a button you push. It allows you to go live. Now, I happen to be doing something sort of one step above that, which is I use a system called StreamYard. It's not wildly expensive, but it's not free. And that allows you to go live and go on to 8 platforms relatively easily, which is, I believe we're on 7 today and 2 Facebook. So it kind of adds up to 8. So you may want to look into it. There are a lot of different services, but StreamYard is one that a lot of people I know who are more successful than I am recommend and trust and endorse. So you may want to check that out. But you're absolutely right. It is a good way of building trust and building relationships with people if they can see you live, if they can ask questions. What StreamYard does easily that you can't do just with YouTube is a push of a button. Someone can join you on screen and you can share, you can have a real conversation in a real meeting. Okay, let's see if there's other questions that have come in. How do I overcome the fear of speaking up and asking questions in meetings? This is from Yvonne Irudi. So I do have an entire course on this subject, workplace communications. You can speak up in meetings. So without turning this whole live show today into an infomercial, I would ask that you check that out. It's workplace communications. You can speak up at meetings. And you can Google that. You'll see it on a lot of places. It's on my main corporate website, but it's also on the Udemy platform. You may want to check that out. But the main thing is try to ask one question at every meeting. And every time you ask a question, it's going to become a little bit easier. That is my single biggest piece of advice, is just get in the habit, whether you raise your hand or you blurt it out. Don't worry if someone thinks you're stupid, but try to ask intelligent questions. Don't be afraid to say, I don't understand. Can you give a little more detail on that? That's something most people, junior level people, are afraid to do. And the CEO of a lot of companies is not afraid to do that. And that's how they became the CEO. They kept on learning. They kept on improving. So try to do it. If you want to go a step further and you're really nervous, practice in advance. You might not know everything that's being talked about in a meeting, but you know the general topic, You could practice just with your cell phone outside or in the hallway, in your office or a car, on the bus ride to work. Practice asking one question on video and get to the point where you like how you come across, you like your voice, you like that you look comfortable and confident, and then ask that question. Now, you may have to change the question a little once you get in the meeting based on the circumstances, but that is one way of building your confidence and making it easier. Good luck. I'm going through a list of other questions, and I really enjoy the fact that we've had so many great questions come in just the last 24 hours. And I'm continuing to scroll questions. Many people simply RSVPing, but a number of you providing very thorough and detailed questions. And that is what we're about here today. It's not about me just coming and giving you a set lecture. It is about answering questions, giving tips on how to be a more effective communicator, whether you're speaking to a friend, a family member, one colleague at work, 5 colleagues, giving a new business pitch, talking to 1,000 people. Here's a question that comes from Hunga Agabi. Thank you for teaching. My question is, can we have more courses after this one? Well, yes, I do have a couple of 100 courses. So if you want to continue learning, I have a lot of courses. Please go to my website, mediatrainingworldwide.com. If you go to my YouTube channel, click the About section, you'll see links to all that. Hi, Tony. No, it's not Biden, but we do have a similar amount of hair. And I do have some leathered skin, which you may have noticed. I don't think I look quite as old as Biden, but I do appreciate you stopping by, and thanks so much. And believe me, I've at other points in my life, people have said I looked like, I don't know, Pee Wee Herman and Anthony Perkins, the guy who was in Psycho. So I'm not at all offended if someone says I look like that particular politician you mentioned. Thanks. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. That one is a repeat. Someone says TBA for questions. So you can always just come and ask the questions later, or in a reaction to something I said. I think, okay, these are last week's questions. So we did that. So we are in fact caught up on all the questions that you submitted. So I very much appreciate that. We are sort of overtime today. We try to finish at noon Eastern time each day. Thursdays are a little bit different because we have a breakout session that is exclusive just for my Udemy students. So we do that 10 to 10:30 a.m. each Thursday. So that changes things just a little bit. But what I'm going to do now is how we typically end our last 20 minutes or so of our live stream is I don't just talk about how to be an Amazon influencer, how to be a social media influencer and give you concepts. You actually see me make videos. I go from the concept, scripting, holding up the product, shooting the video, editing it, refining it, uploading it, processing it, tagging it, giving it a headline, and submitting it to Amazon. And what I try to do is at least 5 product reviews every day, or at least Monday through Friday. And I try to do all of that, every single step, in about a half an hour. Now, sometimes it does take a little bit longer. But I'm doing this not because it's necessarily the only way to do it or the best way, but it is a way. It's a way I do Amazon influencer videos. Now, if you're interested in the program, just Google Amazon influencer and you'll see it. It's a relatively simple program where if you have 1,000 followers on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, maybe one other, they typically automatically let you in. It's not particularly difficult. You don't have to Prove to people that you have millions of people in your Kim Kardashian, because that's traditionally the problem with being an influencer. If you don't have a big audience that loves you and you're not really famous, it's very hard to sell anything. What I like and find fascinating about the Amazon influencer program is you don't have to have much of an audience or an audience with a track record of buying other products. You make the video, you upload it to Amazon. Amazon puts it on the product page where people are already going because they're thinking of buying it. If they watch your video and buy it, you get a commission. It's not get rich quick. Believe me, I'm not getting rich from this. But it is a way to get into the game of being an influencer. It's a way of speaking to more people. I see it about 10,000 people or views a month are watching my ads on Amazon right now. So you get in front of more people and you can make more money, and you don't have to spend time pitching gatekeepers to let you speak or pitching gatekeepers to let you represent a product. That is the beauty of it. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. I have to say goodbye to our friends on TikTok because I have to use my phone to make these Amazon influencer videos. Now, you don't have to use a phone, but it's so much faster and easier and more streamlined. So that's why I do that. So if you want to watch this, come on over to my YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com and type in TJ Walker Success, and you'll see the rest of this. So I've got to take this off. I've got to end the feed. So we've ended it. I am going to use the very same tripod. So I have it on a tripod. I believe this is called a gooseneck. And I'm going to make videos right here doing reviews of these Amazon products. I hit video. I hit that. And forgive me, I did not bring my microphone and receiver. It's in the other end of the studio. So I'm going to walk back here. Those were charging. Bear with me. I'm showing you warts and all how this process is, because it's not particularly difficult, but there are a number of steps. So a lot of people just get thrown off because they see someone's Amazon influencer video, but they don't really know how it's made. So I'm going to take this little receiver. You don't have to do this, but it just makes the audio quality much better. I stick the receiver in, and now I have a little microphone. Now what you're hearing me on is a relatively expensive $1,000 Sennheiser shotgun mic. This is more like I believe it's a $25 mic, but it's still going to sound better than the built-in microphone on my iPhone. So I'm going to first thing I'm going to do is to turn it on to look for the green light. So I see a green light. That's telling me it's on. I'm going to put it, sometimes I put it on my jacket, sometimes I put it on my tie. I just want it high and therefore close to my mouth so the audio quality will be much better. Dave says, thanks, TJ. It was a great session. See you soon. Well, Dave, thanks for stopping by. Always a pleasure hearing what you're up to. So today I'm going to make Amazon influencer videos reviewing books. These are only books that I like, only books that I've read, books that I've recommended to other people. I'm not just buying a book because, oh, it's a best-selling cookbook and I don't cook, but I want to make money recommending. That's not what I'm doing. You could do that. I don't think it's generally that effective. Okay. Now, I'm going to be totally transparent with you. I've seen it pronounced a million times. I cannot remember how to pronounce this author's name. He is the creator of the whole concept of flow. He's one of the most famous psychologists of the last 50 years. He only recently died, and he is Hungarian. It's something to the effect of like Csikszentmihalyi, but I'm afraid of botching it. So I'm just going to refer to the title because it's a great book. He's a brilliant psychologist and author and has been influential to me. Now, I'm going to take my remote control because I don't want to have to stop, hit record, stop, because then that would have to be edited out. I'm looking for efficiency to do all of this as quickly as possible. Okay. Now, I've got to tilt this. Got to tilt it back a little bit more. That was too high. This is easier if you have a friend, family member, colleague doing it. Those of you who are regulars here know my wife sometimes stops by and does this, but I do want to show that I don't want to give you any excuses. If you want to make influencer videos, whether it's for Amazon, Walmart, Target, TikTok itself, there's so many ways of doing it. What holds people back is not having a team and a camera operator. It's the insecurity about, oh, what do I look stupid? And I'm sympathetic to that, but that's what we're here to do, is to help you get over that so you can just start creating. So that's why I'm trying to do a lot of these things so quickly, to show you it doesn't have to be fancy and slick. I have fancy, slick, short form, long form videos on social media, but these aren't that. These are unedited, simple camera, my iPhone, $20 mic, remote in my hand, no editing. So let's just hop in. Creativity is a fantastic book by the same author who popularized the notion of flow. If you want to really go deep and learn how to be more creative and understand creativity, this is the book for you. Okay, so I did that. Normally I would mention the author's name, but I don't want to botch the name. Okay. Mark Rudolph. Look, I watch Netflix every day. I thought I knew a lot about it, but it wasn't until I read this book by the co-founder, Mark Rudolph, where I really understood what the people at Netflix did. It is a fascinating read. Again, these are things I'm not following a script here. No one told me to say this. I'm thinking of this. When I say scripting earlier, I'm thinking of this. My scripting is me talking once I hit the record button. Reid Hoffman is one of the tech titans of the 20th and 21st centuries. If you really want to know more about how the modern world works, you need to know how Reid thinks and how he builds things. This book will do it. He is a fascinating character. "48 Laws of Power." Robert Greene is an absolutely fascinating character, brilliant writer. He's written so many great books, but this is a true classic. The 48 Laws of Power should be a part of your library. Okay, this next book, The Lean Startup, I just want to look to see what year it was written, because so much of what he wrote has now become conventional wisdom, which I will mention. 2011. Okay. The Lean Startup is a classic. So much of what was written in this book more than a decade ago has become conventional wisdom because it works. If you're thinking of doing a startup, you need this book in your library. Okay. All right. So now let's do a quick check. Normally I try to do it right at the beginning, and I forgot because it's been a long day. So I'm taking my receiver out. I'm going to take the microphone off, turn off the microphone so as to save the power. I'm going to do a quick check. And Okay. I had a scare. I heard nothing. I thought, oh no, I hope I didn't make all 5 of those without any audio on. But no, the audio was on and I heard it. Now, typically in this show, I'll actually walk you through step by step. I'll go to the Amazon. I'll just show you here briefly. I go to my Safari. I type in Amazon. I click on my own page, because if you're an influencer, they give you your own shop, your own page in Amazon. And then I hit create content, upload it. It's a pretty simple process. It takes a couple of minutes per product typically, but we're way past time and I need to sit down. So I'm going to break here for now, but I will see all of you tomorrow. In the meantime, please watch the new videos that I post really every few hours on this channel. We do 2 short form videos a day, 1 long form video, and Monday through Friday, a live long video. Please like each video. Please leave a comment. If it's nothing else but to say where you're from, subscribe, sign up for notifications, and it helps. I'm TJ Walker, hoping that you reach ultimate success in every aspect of life by being a better and more confident communicator. Thanks.